right, so I am pretty sure, embarrassingly enough, we have caught up to where I had the answer keys done because there's this weird little glitch in like where I was versus yeah, you guys don't need the whole backstory. I won't bore you with that. But so for today, our answer key that we're checking is just going to be kind of lame because it's just like straight up the answers. But so on 511, because we're turning it in today, do we have questions about the answers that we see up here? Well, I mean, you're going to need a minute to look at it before you can really tell me no. Once we check 5, 6, 7, we'll scroll to double check. So I do want to talk about 8 because a couple people came to me and they were like mad at me. And first off, if I didn't make your homework assignments as handouts, you just have to do all of this on graph paper. So if you want to come complain to me about what I put on your homework, don't, because the alternative is you just do everything on graph paper, which I mean I think is great. But on 8, as we go to graph this, some people come up to me and they said, Hudson, the graph you gave us isn't big enough. This graph here. Now, one thing that has to happen, this center of the XY axes, this is your x-axis, this is your y-axis, this has to be your 0, 0. That has to happen. But did I give you any other numbers? No. So if you would like to get to -7, could you change the scale of this graph and make this -2, -4, -6, -8, -10? Yeah. And then my -7 for my y-intercept would be here. But be careful. Am I going to scale my x-axis by 2's also? If I was you, I would, because it's nicer to have x, y scaled the same. So if I make this 2 and make this 2, now my slope of 1 can still just go like up 1, over 1, up 1, over 1, up 1, as long as our scale is the same. Because really I went up 2 over 2, up 2 over 2. Up 1 over 1 would have been there, there, there. Either way, your slope of 1 should be a whole lot less intense than your slope of -4x. So if I'm doing my -4x plus 3, y-intercept at 3, down 4 over 1, down 4 over, ooh, hey, there we go. Here's my intersection point, down 4 over 1. Or get graph paper. If you want to make a different graph that is scaled 1 to 1, just get graph paper. You can always attach graph paper to your homework. Any questions on 5, 6, or 7 before I totally scroll past them? You should not be doing your homework right now because that shows me that you don't manage your time very well. Your homework should be done outside of class. AO, extensions, I don't know, maybe at home. Crazy idea. Guys, do you think I can get all of my schoolwork done at school? No, I take work home. Like, depending on the job you have, when you're an adult, you might have to take work home. If you get lucky and have a job that you don't have to take anything home, great. But if you don't get it done at work, you got to take it home. Unless you work like an hourly job, and then it's great. You clock out and you're like, forget that job. But when you work a salary, so I know some of you guys don't know the difference. Salary is you just get paid to complete these responsibilities. It's not by time. It's you just got to do what you got to do. Amir? Yes. All right, good. And this is recorded, so you can always pop back to the video later, and it's like the first thing in the video. All right, if your homework is done, turn it in. The things being collected are over on the board. 3 closure, 4 closure, and the one we just checked, 5.1.1. 3 closure, 4 closure, 5.1.1. So that was why, what I just went over was why I said see me. So you don't need to see me now, as long as that makes sense of like.
These ones? Yes.
I don't know why this is wrong in math, so I'll go check right now. Dude, I believe you.
No, I know.
No, you don't have to show me. I don't know why Mr. Combs has such an issue with the CAPTCHA thing. I think he might be a robot. Like, I'm starting to get suspicious. Don't tell him I said that, though, because if he is a robot, he might, like, come shoot lasers out of his eyes. And
Mr. S has had trouble with it, too.
So wait, Will, I still need your 5 and 7, though? Like, that's accurate?
I know, everything else is
Okay, just checking.
Just this is
Okay. Sweet, on graph paper or what? Or just finished it? Sweet, so you can turn it back in. Yeah, if you needed to make your revisions, you can do that too. Yep, if your master's ready to turn in, just in the bin, guys. That's how I stay organized. Guys, again, and I know I feel like Phoenix is really good at this, but guys, the stuff we're trying to teach you is not like fake. Like, you gotta figure out how to stay organized in your life, right? Like using a binder, using a plan book, whatever. Like, we're not having you do stuff just because. Trust me, none of this is just for fun. If it was just for fun, we'd just be like playing board games all day long. Trust me, that's all I really want to do. What game should I try to play tonight, guys?
You should play checkers. Oh.
Man, I would get told to leave my game night if I had said, let's play checkers.
Connect board.
Maybe chess, but even then, we'd play the game called Duke, which is a chess variant game, which is more complicated.
This is 3-dimensional.
either 3-dimensional chess or shogi.
I don't know that we have that.
Oh, okay. How about Renegade?
Renegade? I don't know that either. Why am I way back? Was this accurate? Did I just accidentally change this one? Yeah, I accidentally changed the wrong. Not you. Sorry, I'm talking to myself, kind of. All right. We are going to practice writing rules today. So when you look at your 522, is there space for examples? No, because I wanted to give you a bunch of space so you could actually put your graph here. So you need what out? Graph paper. So guys, if you want to convince your parents to let you do something, a fantastic way to argue, not necessarily argue, convince, is to use math in your argument. Guys, really, I think I'm going to request that we put like homework papers away. We really only need graph paper out right now. And maybe a calculator, but maybe not. Like, we really only need our graph paper out. So if you're doing a homework paper, maybe stop doing your homework paper. Your task is to help Latanya and George figure out their bicycle savings. So I'm going to color code up here to help us out a little bit. Let's go George in green, just because. George.
Latanya's yellow. No, Latanya is purple. No. Oh, no. Yeah, no, Latanya's purple. Yeah,
Purple's really dark up here.
No, do it. Drink yellow.
No.
Oh, I forgot it does. They changed the, just got a job.
Yeah.
I want you and your partner to first figure out how to write a rule. I don't know why we call these rules. An equation, right? I mean, it's a rule mathematically speaking. It's really a function if we want to start using like a $2 word, or my choir director used to say these things. We're going to write a function to represent Latanya's savings and George's savings. Then we want to figure out when they have both saved an equal amount of money. Now, the one thing that we do have to agree upon is them, like, able to save $25 a week, able to save $30 a week. They started at the same time. Okay, so for this to make sense and us to be able to align things, they started at the same time. So you and your partner, that's your task. Write a rule for each of them, and then figure out when will their savings be equal. So as I announced, homework can go away. We need graph paper. There is no examples from class on your homework paper. This is all homework because I left a bunch of space for this. We need graph paper.
If you do the graph, then should I do the?
You don't necessarily have to graph this. Like, I see some people drawing axes. You don't necessarily need to graph this. You can. I don't think you need to. I'd start with like L equals, G equals. I'd start with L equals and G equals. If you're still using your same notes, might be that same one that we put the header on the other day. We could draw a line across and keep going, or you could do a new piece of paper. We don't necessarily need to graph this. But if we don't graph it, then how can we solve it? We want Latanya and George to have equal savings. Oh, what an appropriate time of the year to read it. Such an appropriate spooky season. It is a bit scary for me, though. I don't love scary stuff. What about what? Friday the 13th? I don't really watch many scary movies. I'm debating if I'm even going to watch Five Nights at Freddy's. Well, I don't know. I haven't seen it yet. It looks kind of scary. So my friends who have a podcast will do... I actually have multiple friends with podcasts. That's the funny thing. But they'll do deep dives into certain content because they have a Patreon, so they get paid to do like a deep dive into something. They did a deep dive into Five Nights. Guess how long the episode was?
2 hours.
3.5. It was 3.5 hours of deep lore about Five Nights at Freddy's. Simon?
What kind of stuff do you like really hate? Like cool, that like really hates you?
Gore. Like, and like the mental. So like, not like it makes me queasy, but like it's just like, oh, that was unnecessary. People don't bleed like that. Like, come on, that doesn't happen when your head gets chopped off. Like, I just sit there and I'm like, come on, that's not real. Go ahead.
Wait, can I say something that happens that might happen?
No spoilers.
Okay.
Yeah, no spoilers. No. All right, back on Matt. Nope, we're doing Mr. DeGenova. I'm channeling Mr. DeGenova. I'm getting way off task. L equals, I need some help. Obviously, I need help. I lost my cards. That can't be actually true. But all right, somebody want to volunteer? Oh, here they are. Laurel, can you help me with Can you help me with an equation for what Laurel has in her savings? Sorry, Laurel, can you help me with Latanya?
Yeah, so I got 30x plus 50.
Yeah, she starts with 50 and is saving 30 each week. So we could do W for weeks. Actually, I'm going to go ahead and do W to just get used to using different variables. Oh, by the way, if you're curious about like why do we use X, I did, and sorry, Ahmad, I still need to get your videos that you sent me uploaded. I've just been really busy. But in the like my YouTube videos folder, not my YouTube, but in the folder, there is a video about like why X, right? So if you're curious, don't come ask me. There are people smarter than me. How did x become the unknown and why? Ha, and why?
We need the last button.
Ahmad, what about George?
I got 25x plus 75.
25x plus 75. Ooh, I'm going to use W, though. Just to play by my own rules. Ada, no, wait, yeah. Yeah, you are here. Sorry, I looked straight back at the back table. So, I want their savings to be equal. Now, if I think about graphing both of these, they both be going up, right? They both have positive slope. But to graph these, I'm going to have to make like a graph with really big scales and stuff. So did you graph these or did you do something else? Okay. Tables could work. So then you just said like, all right, week 1, they have this much. Week 2, they have this much. That could totally work. Simon?
What I did is I moved the decimal point to graph it.
The decimal point. Guys, what's our goal here? We're trying to figure out when will
They equal the same. Like when will they have the same?
Beatrix.
When they'll have the same amount of decisions.
So how could I write what our goal is? We want L. Hey friends. We want L to equal G. We want L, okay, 30W plus 50. We want that to equal G, okay, so G, 25W plus 75. Well, I guess we don't really need the setup anymore. All right, let's see if I'm on my A game. Ah, so close! Oh, I know. I have a trash can back here. It's just more fun to throw it across the room.
Try again. You're up, Mr. Hudson.
Only if you guys solve the equation first.
I already did it.
Okay, well, then, Mick, what could I do on both sides?
First, start by subtracting 50.
I like to look at the variables first. I agree that that is gonna happen. We're gonna subtract 50. But I want to get you guys used to look at the variables first. So I'm gonna do 25W from each side because that'll keep me with a positive W value. Right, so we're gonna get 5W. But now I'm gonna do what Mick said and subtract that 50 from both sides. So we get 5W equals 25. 25 now. Oh, and what do I do to finish out? Divide by 5. I'm trying to stop hoarding all of my pens that are like more than halfway to like not working anymore. So that's why I'm finally throwing them away. So W would be 5. So really, 5 weeks. But wait. They want to know how much money Latanya and George will have. You getting this written down, Will? That, or you might already have it written down, but if you don't already have it, I would make sure you get it written down. So how, Amir, do you know how I could figure out how much money that they'll have? We just figured out 5 weeks. How can I figure out how much money? And either one that I plug these into, they should get the same result. So 30 times 5, 150 plus 50, 200. 25 times 5, 125 plus 75, 200. So after 5 weeks, they will each have $200. Questions? This is in your math notes. It is known as the equal values method. So on your back page, not on the back, but like the second page, the equal values method just says, well, guys, if two things want to equal each other, like if this is equal to y and this is equal to y, But if they're both equal to y, they're both equal to each other. So I can set the two equations equal to each other. Now I have the same variable on both sides, and now I can solve it. This is in your math notes, what we just learned, called the equal values method. What? It's not mine either.
It's not mine either.
Well, it's just sitting there then. Somebody from the afternoon class probably left it. Questions, because you know I'm going to have you practice that again. What do you mean, all? Try this.
What about the pencil? What about the...
Oh.
Yeah, sir.
Oh, I got to try to be correct with my locomotion.
Think about the math in it.
It's a parabola. For real, this will be a parabola.
Use gyroscopic torque.
It was low as soon as it released, I could tell. But I didn't want to, like, scrape the ceiling. All right, one more try. One more try
Scrape the ceiling.
after we solve the intersection of these equations.
Mr. Hudson.
We have 4x minus 6 is equal to y, and negative 2x plus 3 is equal to y. But if they're both equal to y, then they're equal to each other. So, guys, I could use tables, right? Like we talked about. We could use tables. But I haven't yet found this, like, I need the y's to be the same when the x's are the same. It's not happening. So instead of using the table, because that feels like it's a little not efficient, right? We want to be efficient. So let's set up 4, that's way too dark. 4x minus 6 equal to what? Equal to what? Negative 2x plus 3. I would look at variables first. I would do stuff with variables on both sides first. Then, because these are a bit more straightforward, have either of you done what we're supposed to be doing right now? That's not the answer to the question I asked. Have either of you done what we're supposed to be doing? No. What is on the board right now that we're doing right now? Have either of you done this? Then why are we playing with toys? I don't know either, but you're the one doing it. You're in charge. You're controlling your actions. I have 40 minutes a day to do my job. Come on, guys. You're better than this. Then we are gonna graph these, because these are gonna be more manageable to graph. So let's practice graphing these on like XY axes. So use your graph paper, right? Use the grid lines, use the boxes. Because we're going to make sure that the graph that we make agrees with the algebra that we did. Cora, what would you suggest that we do first here? That's because that's the best move. You have 4 options, but in my humble opinion, the best move, get rid of the negative variable by adding 2x to both sides. Then, Charlie, what would we do now? If we followed Cora's route, what would we do now? That's because that's the right move. And we get 6x equals 9, I think. It's all good. This is the time when, you're totally safe to mess up because it doesn't matter that you messed up. And that's the trap door, guys. You get so excited about knowing what you're doing because it feels good. You're like, oh, I know what to do. And then you forget to make sure that you did the math on both sides. Simon, what can I do now?
Divide 9 by 6.
Really, we're dividing on both sides, right? X equals 9 over 6, which could reduce to 3 over 2. Oh, we know what that is. Whether you like fractions better or decimals better. Then we're going to graph this. So if you haven't graphed this, and I've heard you guys say this, of man, using a ruler is so much easier. So before you start drawing your graph, think about your y-intercepts. Think about your slopes. Like, try to make your graph big enough that we'll be able to fit it on there. So my y-intercepts are -6 and +3. You've got everything you need on your paper, right? If you have those written down, you have the equations that you need.
Sasha Brokaw, please come to the Perry office. Sasha, please come to the Perry office.
That noise is in my nightmares. For the left equation, Beatrix, how do I start?
I would probably add,
So to graph, to come down and graph this equation.
we'll put on the x-axis to the right.
If this is the equation y equals that we're trying to graph, and this other is also a y equals, we need to look at them like independently now, because we're going to graph it. And we normally want to start at our y-intercept. What is the y-intercept of this equation, anyone? -6. So we want to start at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, -6. Then we use our 4 to follow the slope of 4. 1, 2, 3, 4 up, 1 over. 4 up, 1 over. 4 up, 1 over. Questions on how we graphed that first line? So that was our y equals 4x minus 6. Guys, if you're doing nothing, I assume that on your paper you have both of these lines graphed. You've already shown the point of intersection. Like, you have all of this done. If you're sitting there doing nothing, that is what you're communicating to me. The other equation, our y-intercept is 3. Slope is -2. Down 2 over 1. And where do our lines intersect? At what? Nope. What, Ahmad? Guys, we already figured out where the lines should intersect. Our solution, our algebraic solution, told us our lines should cross where x equals 1.5. So when we graph the lines, they cross when x equals 1.5. that's the algebra solution we got. It matches our geometric work that we did of let's put it on the graph, let's see where it crosses, and then we can figure out what is the y value, with just like we just did in the previous problem. If I know what x is, I can figure out the y by plugging it in. What's 4 times 1.5? 6 minus 6? Oh, 0. Oh, so this intersects our point of intersection. Our solution is at 1.5, 0. I'm going to come around and check your notes, and then you're free to go to lunch. If you're choosing to try to not take notes, it's going to bite you in the butt today. I need to see this on your paper before you go to lunch. Okay, down there. Now something's goofed up. If this is for the one that we just did, one of these should have a negative slope. So this is supposed to have a negative slope. Nice, nice.
Wait, so does that mean I can leave now?
I would redo it to make sure that you actually show the negative slope, because otherwise it doesn't show the intersection. And once I check that we got it correct on our paper, just because we need a good reference point, you're good to go to lunch. So if you don't understand, what do you think you should do? So this is why I was so frustrated that you guys are playing with a ruler and highlighters instead of doing math. Do you feel fully confident in what we're doing? Do you feel fully confident in what we're doing? Not totally. So should we do more practice? Yes. Right? That's why I'm trying to get you guys to stop playing with toys. So, the equations we wrote down up here, 4x minus 6, negative 2x plus 3. Each of these are a y equals equation. So, when we